Hello, everyone. This is Richard Rollins, Collegiate Coordinator from Baton Rouge Soccer Club, saying good evening and how are you today? We want to talk today about resume writing and a little bit about a cover letter that you may be sending to potential college coaches that you're looking to join their programs, become part of their programs. In this process, we have to remember of self-promotion. You want to present your best self in a resume, and a good cover letter is a great way to introduce yourself to coaches and begin to get a dialogue going with their institution. So we're going to look at a template that I like to send to our participants in the club. I've worked with several so far in this format. I think it's very simple and very concise, and it has a lot of advantages. There are obviously different types of resume styles you can use, but as a person that was recruiting at the collegiate level for many years and talking to many of my colleagues, it's very important that the resume itself is very simple, gives the pertinent information, is talking about what highlights you, and then really that's it. It's not a lengthy dialogue, but it is your first introduction to who you are as a player, who you are as a person, and it's an important document to be sure. So let's look at the resume first. Again, this is the format that I send out to most of the players that I've worked with so far. Obviously, your name and year of graduation. A lot of times I will eliminate the sport piece of this because you're sending it to soccer coaches. They obviously know that you're a soccer player. So in this case, I think it's something that you don't really need in the template or in the format. Next piece is position. I would rather say positions, because you don't want to limit yourself in terms of how they're looking at you. For instance, in my experience, a lot of defenders at the collegiate level of the schools that I, coached at and recruited for, a lot of times I'd be looking for outside midfielders to fill those roles, especially at the collegiate level, where the outside back getting forward has to be able to serve the ball effectively and also be good 1v1 defenders. In many cases, outside midfielders fit that bill for me and what I was looking for a player. Now, obviously, there are lots of different coaches and lots of different styles, but that's just an experience of what I would do when I was looking for players at the collegiate level. So I would say positions and all the ones that you've played and have experience with. Status is your next thing. What year are you in your high school? Where is your high school located? And then your status in this case, uncommitted with no letters of intent, I find is the best way to come across to the coaches, letting them know that you have not committed to going to any school, obviously, and that you have no signed letter of intent with any institution. This means that you're available for recruitment to their school. Contact information is pretty self-explanatory. Home address, city, state, zip, phone where you can be contacted. So home phone, I would say a cell phone at this point in the days of social media are very important. So many people are actually on their cell phone more than a home phone. But the best way to contact you, and an email. Even though we have lots of different types of social media now, email is still the way that a lot of coaches have their correspondence. Though we also have Instagram and Twitter, but email still is the primary source for most coaches to talk to their players. Your goal, obviously, and again, this varies from person to person, but be very clear about what your goal is. In this case, on this template is to play high-level soccer in college. I don't think it has to be that complicated. Usually, with the players I've worked with, we talked about to play for the institution that they're applying to and to be part of the program. The next piece, skills, training, and player characteristics, is an interesting piece. You want to talk a little bit about yourself as a player and what some of your highlights are. But again, if you read this template, it's a little more wordy than I'd like. Be very concise in what you say and make sure that you're highlighting your best attributes in what you're talking about. For instance, if you're a good player and you're a defender, there are certain things that coaches are going to take into account as things that you're able to do. So you don't have to necessarily be as wordy in what you're talking about here. I would keep this to 2 to 3 sentences, but be very concise and make sure you're highlighting those pieces about you that you want the coach to know about and what type of player you are. Playing history is of course very important. In this template, we go with high school and club. And again, if you look at this, it has the basic information of the high school city, how many years you played on the varsity team. Please don't put your JV years on your resume. That's not really what coach is looking for. They want to know how many years you're at the varsity level. Again, same thing with your club. The club where you played. Again, this template has a position in it. I would be careful with putting and specifying just one spot. The coaches, if they're looking for players like versatility and how many years you've been with the club. In this template, you also want to put other playing experiences that you've had. That can include, in this case, we have international playing experiences on this particular template, but that can include things such as ODP, being part of the Dynamo Dash program, the TDP program at our club, and so on. The next piece, it talks about your coaches, and these are references. And this is a references section. So you want to put down your club coach, your high school coach, and another coach, preferably at the highest level that you've attained, to be able to give references about who you are as a player. And when coaches call these particular references, you want to be sure that you've prepared your references to be called. So let them know and make sure you're asking them that they are part of your resume and that they know that people may be calling you or calling them about you. Excuse me. And it's important that you present references that are obviously going to put you in the best light. When we talk about leadership experience, again, this is something you don't necessarily have to put in. And again, in this template, we have a lot of different categories. You don't have to put all of these in here. So for instance, if you don't have a girls varsity soccer club, for instance, you don't need to put that piece in there. But what you may want to put in instead of leadership experience in this particular case is if you are a captain of your team or team's club level or high school, and how many years you were part of a captain in that particular scenario. This is a fairly important piece next. And in terms of soccer camps attended, I would also say ID camps attended, and putting down some names and dates for those if you have attended them. More because it shows, the level of camp that you've been to. It also shows that you're putting in extra, time to become a better player, and that you're working at becoming a better player all the time. Obviously, some camps have more impact than others. So, for instance, I wouldn't list day camps or things of that nature here, but if you go to a summer camp, say at Florida State, Louisiana Tech, places of this nature, it's going to talk about the level of player you've seen and what kind of experience you've had, both in and out of state. Personal awards, honors, and achievements, again, is pretty self-explanatory. It's an important piece just to highlight the things that you've done. Again, I would go more along the lines of what you've accomplished in the area of all state, all league, all district, and things of that nature. And if you have, for instance, been the most valuable player at a major club tournament, is also a nice piece to put in there as well. Academics and school awards, obviously, institutions of higher learning want to know if you're going to be eligible and garner a lot of information in terms of eligibility and grants out of this particular piece. Your grade point average, your cumulative GPA, and it's, a lot of schools like to know what you're doing your senior year, that you're maintaining your academics, which is why I like the fact that both of these are in there. Where your class rank is, and that's also something I like to put in there because it shows how you're rated in amongst your peers in the school. I'm not so worried about the PSAT score, but ACT and SAT are definitely scores that you want to put in there. And then any awards, academic, that you've achieved. In this area, I would also say any grants that you've achieved through letters or through the school or through various means that you can get awarded grants academically, I would include that in this section. Employment experience, again, is a piece where you, if you're keeping it soccer related, it shows that you're doing, getting into the coaching end a little bit. Another area is if you are refereeing. Another good piece to have under this particular section. I would keep it soccer related, and you don't necessarily have to call it employment experience. You could, there are several different ways to word this. But if you've been a camp counselor for soccer camp or been a referee, it's a good thing to put out there because it shows that you're not only just a player, but you're also impacting and learning other pieces of the game, which is appealing to a lot of coaches. Volunteer and extracurricular activities. The reason this is important, it shows that you're doing just more than playing a sport, and shows that you're involved in the community, shows that you're involved in all aspects of school life. Because as a coach and as a recruiter, I'm looking at people that want the whole experience. It's very difficult just to go to a place to play soccer and go home. So we want you getting a degree. We want you being part of the school community as a whole. And so this particular piece is a very good part of it, and tells a lot about you in reality. Other sports, and in here, this piece is, again, somewhat important for me. It's okay to be specialized, but a lot of coaches like multi-sport athletes. So if you're playing soccer and you're also playing, say, basketball in school, and you're impactful in both sports, it shows that not only you are are you a good player in the sport that is your main focus, but you also are just an overall good athlete. In this particular place, I would only put in the sports that you feel are going to be impactful in talking the institution that you're with. But again, you're showing that you're a good overall athlete. Another piece that's not in this template, but I think it's very important in this day and age to fit in, is video. So in a lot of places, there are ways to actually have video links directly placed into your resume, and at least be able to put down access to that. So a lot of times you can either send video to coaches, but with the way things like Huddle, Trace, VO work, most of those programs have links to you as a player. So I would highly encourage putting in a section of video, one that would be a highlight video of yourself, and another one that would be a half of a game that you have played well in, so you can let coaches take a look at you both in your highlights and show off the things that you do very well, and also get a chance to see you just as a player through the course of a 45-minute period, so they can make assessments for you. The other thing I also like about this template is in this format that we put in here, we've left this section open so you could add your photo. A lot of people do like to add their photo in just because it puts a face to the name. And I think it adds something to the resume as well. So this is a basic format. I think it's very effective. It gives you pertinent information. Again, if there are pieces in here that aren't pertinent, just take them out of there. Because looking at this particular template, you notice that it's about a page and a half. But if you start taking out the things that are not necessary, a lot of times this piece will be down to a page. Or in this case, you don't really want to be any longer than this with a resume. Because you start getting into people that have 3-4 page resumes. It's lengthy. You're giving way too much information that you can have a conversation about later if the coaches are interested. And I think it's an important piece to keep things as concise as possible. So let's quickly take a look also at the cover letter. The cover letter is your first introduction to the program. And again, you're talking with colleagues and my experiences with them. When I look at a cover letter, I want to see that it's professionally put together, introduces you, and it shows that you've actually done a little research in the program. So for instance, in this template that you're looking at, there's your date, the coach, and then your name and expressing the interest, where you're going to be coming from, and what your program of study could be. And again, the line in this first paragraph I really like is, during my research at potential university, I was drawn to your program due to, and again, you can word that in many different ways, but make sure you're doing a little research on the school and have an idea of what programs academically you would like to be involved in, and this is the place to put that in. The next paragraph just basically talks a little bit about where you're playing. It talks about the fact you've added a resume. And again, you already have your references on your resume. So you're basically highlighting the resume piece as well here, and allowing them to reference back and forth to that. In the next piece, it talks about where you're going to be playing. And in self-promotion, getting in front of coaches is very important. ID camps, summer camps, these types of dollars, but telling them where you are so they can come and see you is important. Most coaches are looking for you to be playing at the highest level of competition possible. So you want to put those competitions in place because coaches are going to know pretty quickly what the level of competition is, and they want to see you at your highest level. So in this particular template, they're listing the tournaments that they're going to be looking at, and they're labeling the 3 that they're going to be in the immediate time that you're sending this initial letter. If it's a more lengthy recruiting process or lengthy discussion, if you start to talk, for instance, in your junior year into your senior year, and they want to see you play more often, you can always add to this list during your email interactions with the schools at a later time. And again, looking at this last paragraph, it talks about a DVD. It's kind of old school in this day and age. I would reference back to the links that you put on your resume, or if you choose to put your links in here, you can do that. And you also notice they put a number so they can identify which player you are. And then, again, just letting them that that you're going to be checking back and that you're very interested and you want to start a dialogue with them. And again, I like this. It's a very simple format. It's a very simple template and very effective. The one thing I would say in both situations, and I think I've mentioned it more than once already, keep this as simple as possible. Coaches want the pertinent information, and then they're going to start the process of looking at you. So in this self-promotion, you want to make sure that you are presenting your best self and giving and saying to them why they should be looking at you. And it's a very effective piece to getting the dialogue going overall. So that's a basic template. Again, I think it's very effective. If you have any questions about resume writing or cover letters, I've done a few for players at the club already. I'm happy to help out with these situations. Either call me at our office or email me at rrollins@brsoccer.org. And we can certainly assist you in writing your resume and your cover letter and getting the dialogue started. So I'm working with several players right now, getting the ball rolling with their process, and other coaches within the club as well are also helping their players. So all our coaches are resources. We help each other out, and we certainly want to make sure that you get to where your best fit is, both academically and for the continuation of your soccer career. I hope this has been helpful for you. I look forward to putting out another one of these videos in the next month. And again, seeing you on the fields and hearing about your successes. Have a wonderful evening. Take care and all the best.